Welcome to another Brainstorm Science video. Today we're looking at Archimedes' principle. Basically we've got some lovely raisins here. And Archimedes is a Greek philosopher. He created stuff like the Archimedes mirror, which would burn the Roman ships when they start coming in to invade. But today we're
demonstrating Archimedes' principle. And like Felix said, he was a bit of a clever chap. He did all sorts. He was like a philosopher, a sort of physicist, engineer. Anyway, the basics of Archimedes' principle are that an object in a fluid, so we've got a little raisin about to go into some, was it lemonade?
Yeah.
Experiences an upward force equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the object. Anyway, it will become clearer what that actually means. So we've got a raisin and then we'll put a few more in. Whoop!
What happened?
This is dancing raisins. They're in lemonade, and what's attached them? What's those things on the
bubbles.
bubbles?
Does the air in the bubbles sort of make them float to the surface?
Yeah.
When they release when they get to the surface. And
So like the bubbles that are in the lemonade, like when they normally go up, we're like catching the raisins and carrying them up.
Well, they're attracted. The CO2, the carbon dioxide in the lemonade is attracted. The bubbles of gas are attracted to the raisins because the surface of the raisins is rough. So what happens when the bubbles attach themselves to the raisins? They increase the volume. That's the amount of space the raisin takes up, but don't contribute to its mass. They don't make the raisins any heavier because the bubbles of gas hardly weigh anything. So what happens then? The density of the raisin is lowered, causing it to be carried up because the lemonade surrounding it is denser. It's a denser fluid, so that causes it to go up. The raisins have a greater volume, so they displace more of the fluid. So the fluid is like creating this sort of buoyant upward force, and the buoyant force of the fluid pushes the raisins to the top. And then what's happening is when they get to the top and meet the air, the bubbles pop. So then the raisins become more dense, because they've lost their bubbles, and that's what causes them to sink again. So it kind of keeps on going. They go down, they collect bubbles, makes them less dense than the fluid, so up they go. And we got this.
How would they do that forever? Or?
I think eventually the CO2 will kind of evaporate.
I just get annoyed with the raisin. Oh, I'm leaving.
Yeah, the CO2 is coming out because it's like, if you leave your glass of lemonade for a few hours, it would go flat and not be very nice. It's really fun watching them go up and down. Anyway, we got this instructions for this off Chemical Cress's website. She runs a company called Fun Science, and they're fab. They do like science workshops and parties. And she has a blog with loads of ideas for experiments you can do at home, and her website is fun-science.org.uk. She's a bit groovy, Chemical Cress, isn't she? Yes. And this experiment shows that an increase in volume, as long as the mass increase is negligible, will lead to a decrease in density. That's the science. And I guess this is similar principle to sort of like life jackets. Yeah, and rubber rings. You put on a rubber ring.
Sort of brings you up.
Yeah.
But it doesn't let anything go, so you stay at the top.
Yeah, because they're very, very, very light, but they increase your volume, so you get less dense than the fluid around you, so up you go.
Yep.
Everyone know the Archimedes story about
when he got in the bath, he saw the fluid rising. That's what gave him an idea.
Yeah, because he had this problem, didn't he? He had to solve. It was about
how can you make sure something's gold? The crown is gold.
Yeah. There's a really good video about that on ed.ted.com. About the story about Archimedes and the king's crown and how he figured out that actually the king had been diddled by the goldsmith who put silver in the crown.
Some of them started to stick together, so two of them.
We might try this with some other things as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's dancing raisins, and it's a fun experiment you can do at home.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this Brainstorm Science video. Like and subscribe for more.